This mid-range power station from Grecell packs quite the punch. Let's talk about it. What up? It's I from askivesolar, where I like to keep solar simple and give you a realistic take on my impression of these devices and their feature sets and the implications of those features. Right now we have the Grecell T1 Pro, and I really like this joint. It's an improvement from some of their older joints. It now has LiPo. This one has a 2200 watt inverter inside of it, and alongside of a 1126 watt hour capacity battery. And that inverter can surge up to 4,000 watts. It's like, I don't have anything where surge matters in that regard, at least not to my knowledge. So, you know, tomato, potato. In the box, you have a carrying case for the accessories. You get one power plug, you get one 12 volt to Anderson, and you get one MC4 to Anderson. I like that they give you the MC4 cables. That's what's up. Now, the power cable is one of those newer sideways cables. I don't know what the numbers are. Who do I look like? Minuteman Prep? He knows all the joints for those joints. But I like that they are starting to do this on these power stations. As I mentioned before, it differentiates these power cords from your normal run-of-the-mill AC power cords. Because these power stations are getting stronger, that differentiation is important because drop my phone, because you can just grab a 600 watt rated, 300 watt rated cable and think you're good to charge some of these bigger power stations, and you'll run into issues if you try to pull that much power through those cables that aren't rated for that much power. So I like that. On the device, you have 4 AC outlets. The setup is pretty interesting. You have 2 panels that sit on the device on the left hand side. Behind each one of these panels, you have one 2-prong and one 3-prong, and then the other one has one 2-prong and one 3-prong. And they're also recessed just a little bit so that the rubber little gasket thingamajig kind of sits in there pretty good. I'm never quite a fan of these little rubber covers, but they have their place. If you're gonna have your power station kind of out and about, they keep the dirt and the dust and the stuff out of them. I don't really get into that, so it doesn't matter as much to me. But these don't offend me nearly as much. I think it's because they're pretty sturdy and they fit in there pretty good. They don't bother me as much, so you know, that's how it is. You also have 2 100 watt rated PD ports. You have 4 18 watt rated ports, 2 USB-C and then 2 USB-A. They're both quick charge, so to speak, so that's nice. On the front of the device, behind one of those little rubber things, you have your 12 volt kind of socket, and then you have 2 5525 barrel plugs. Nobody puts 5525 21 in the joints anymore. I wonder why that is. I don't know. Maybe the 25s are better. I don't know. And then right above that barrel connector, you have your DC input. We'll talk about that a little later. And then on the side of the device, you have your button for resetting your inverter. I've never had to do that on any of my power stations. Never had to do it. Then you have your AC charging joint. And then we have another button that we're going to talk about a little later as well. There is no wireless charging on the device. There is a light on the back that's rated for 5 watts. It has a couple levels of brightness, as you can see on the screen now. And then if you press and hold it, then it goes through the strobe. It doesn't have strobe, it has the SOS kind of thing. Now, a new segment is talking about the buttons, because this one has some interesting buttons on it as a part of the input and output situation. So you have your power button that if you tap it, you double tap it. Okay, let's just do it here. You have these buttons, and these buttons have these different functions. Double tap AC to turn eco mode on. Double tap it to turn it off. I can't do this while holding the phone, but in order to change the hertz, you have to press and hold the AC and the power button. And then also you have this thing right here, which I need to look up what it means. You can turn that on and off. It says something about the 2000 watt mode. I don't know what that means. It's very confusing to me. If I don't figure this out before the video posts, I'll put something in the description about it. And then this button that we mentioned earlier, this is the button that allows you to switch from fast charge to slow charge. The fast is 1200, the slow is 600, so that's a pretty nice addition. Let me just have a quick blip on eco mode. Eco mode, when it's on, It's 5 watts. Anything less than 5 watts for up to 8 hours will cause the device to turn off. So that's a pretty good eco mode, but you can turn it on and off if you want to. Let's talk this wonderful screen. The first disappointment is that it doesn't stay on, but it shows you all the pertinent information, inputs, output, time remaining, what's on, what's off, eco mode, so on and so forth. It stays on for 60 seconds. And after 60 seconds, it turns off. So it kind of sucks, but you know, that's how it be out here in these uptown streets. In terms of design, I was really surprised by the size of this joint. I like how portable this is. And I also like how it's more rectangular than it is square, because you can grab it. It's about 35 pounds. You can lift it up and then you can kind of have it in one hand and let it lay kind of long. And it works to carry it that way. And with it being narrower, it's just really compact. It feels good to move something around that is that particular size. You have some non-stick things on the joint. They are massive, as you can see here. And then you have some information on the bottom, like key specs and things like that. So that's pretty cool that that's there. Let's talk charging this device, because it's an interesting situation. We already talked about the fast and slow charge. You can get it charged up at the 600 watt rate at up to as quick as 125 minutes per their instructions. Or if you bump up to the 1200, you can do it in about 75 minutes, which is pretty cool. Also on the charging side, you have the 12 volt charging, which can do 12 or 24 volt if you have the ability to charge it that way. And then the solar charging, it's another power station that maxes out at 60 volts. So it's like, dang, I can't get past 60 volts. 60 volts, 15 amps is the most amps you can get into it, and it's rated to be able to charge at up to 600 watts, which is nice. Sadly, the USB-C are not bi-directional and you cannot dual charge. I tried to dual charge here. Check out this footage and see what happens. As you can see, it seems like AC wins out no matter what. I had about 400 watts of solar coming into it, but it was still maxed out at about 600. On discharging, it does have an EPS mode, which is like, you know, power station lingo for UPS, but not fast enough to kind of be called UPS. This one they say is about 20 milliseconds. 20 milliseconds is decent. I wouldn't count on it for a server or anything like that, but it should get the job done. It does have pass-through charging. That's not a problem. They did ask me to do is to test powering some things. So here's a couple of things around my house that I wanted to test powering. Check that out. Let's test the Grecell with my vacuum cleaner. All right, Jojo, hit the power button for me. Okay. So it turned on. It's pretty cool. Using 900 watts. Here is another test. I'm gonna try and run my dryer. My dryer is gas heat, but it needs electricity to spin the dryer, and spinning the dryer, getting it going, takes a little bit of power. Let's see how this fares. I put a few jackets in there, nothing that I intend to fully dry, but I didn't have anything in there, so I wanted to create like a pseudo load. Press and hold. Fan comes on, 400 and 500 watts. So it worked. Let's go turn it off because we don't need that to dry. But this did not work the first time that I did it, and maybe the contents of the dryer were too heavy for this to get going, but it worked with a light load. Let's try the Grecell on pretty much most of my house circuit. That's a long story. You had to be there, or you could watch the video here that's unlisted if you're interested. So I got to turn this on and then turn the AC on. There's going to be a little bit of a surge. Let's just watch the watts. Worked fine, didn't throw any errors. 230, 62, 270. Here goes the fan. 200 watts. That fan really gets going. One other thing I want to do is I want to turn on my dishwasher to add to this load. Let's go do that. I'm going to have my son press the resume button. Go ahead, press it, buddy. So light blink a little bit. Now we went up to 1479 watts. Time remaining is 1 hour. I hope that's enough to run the dishwasher cycle. But we dropped down to 14. So it's performing pretty good. Now, related to charging and discharging, it seems that once this thing gets above like 300 watts of usage or of discharging or charging, the fan goes crazy. And it's not anything super annoying. The fan just blares up a good bit. But what that means for me is that it can't be a top floor living room power station, which is kind of sad because it's a super capable power station. I would love to have it in my living room to power my zone 1, which is my TV, my lamp, my modem, things like that. Per their instruction manual, they seem to have like a temperature threshold. But what I've noticed is once you get up around 300 watts or so, and this thing can take in up to 600 watts, and the default charge on AC is 600 watts. So it's like the fan's gonna be on all the time. Now we've built up in the industry this standard of having 1800 watt inverters, which is cool because that matches how much power you can pull from any given outlet in your home at one time. And although that is nice, it is really nice to have a little bit extra cushion, because if you have something that pulls 1800 watts and then you wanted to run something else, you have a little more headroom to maybe charge your computer or something like that when you're running maybe a microwave or an air fryer. And I think that that's really nice. As you get bigger inverters, you get more cushion to run more stuff at one time versus having a single device that can only power a single high draw device. So this, considering its size and how compact it is, the weight is pretty comparable to everything else. It's about 35 pounds. But the fact that it's so small, it can fit in such a small space with this banger of an inverter, I think it would be dope for people who live in vans, who want like a simple approach to powering this situation, or people who have a nice little nook that they want to have a power station fit into. It has that flat top that doesn't have wireless charging. I think it's something that should really be considered just in terms of the difference of the form factor, along with the inverter and along with the 600 watts of solar charging. I think it's nice. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments below.